Autobahn's races in the Americas wrap up today with the first leg's lone visit south of the equator. Interlagos, probably most well known for its Formula One history, has also hosted the WEC multiple times and as such is well suited to today's mix of cars. But from within this series, it's gained a reputation as being a bit frustrating with its short lap times and twisty layout. While some might be left to wish for what could have been, there has to be those who get to enjoy the Brazilian party atmosphere on the podium as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group's Sportscar Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth covering the LMP1 and LMP2 classes is Bill Soupzon. Keeping us up on the GTE class is Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Taylor, I've often thought of this course as a circuit of two halves. Tell us about this popular South American venue.
Well, of course, Joe, and welcome everyone to Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. Located in Sao Paulo, Brazil, this 2.6 mile or 4.3 kilometer 15-turn course is a very twisty ups and downs course. It's very difficult for a lot of these drivers. We're going to be seeing drivers having to deal with a lot of lap traffic and just pretty much a roller coaster of emotion and roller coaster of a track for these drivers. To give you, the fan, the opportunity to see what it's like here at Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, let's hop on board for a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Taylor Burris on the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around Interlagos. Coming up to the Senna S, this is where you'll see a lot of passes attempted. The tricky thing here is the way the track both drops away and it switches back. It makes it pretty tough to pull the pass off unless you're already pretty far ahead of the defending driver. It'll be very important to get the run into the Curva do Sol too because of the long stretch down the Reta Oposta. If you find yourself understeering or if you just get a late launch, you're going to be very vulnerable down to the braking for Descida del Lago. But while this is another popular place for drivers to make overtakes, just like last time, it's got a big drop in elevation, so it'll be pretty common to see drivers understeer into the paved runoff. From there, we get a small break before Ferradura. This is a double apexer that gets pretty blind on the second half. That'll be important because that's where you want to use every bit of track to keep someone from sending a sneak attack up the inside at turn 8. This starts the slower, more technical back half of the circuit. It'll switch back into Pinarino, but by this point you'll probably find it's mostly single file because of the lack of heavy braking zones. Up next is the Ducksbill, where you definitely want to make sure you get a late apex. Turn in too soon and it's going to be tough to get the power down. Finally, things are opening up a bit as we come through Magurlo, but it's still not a flat-out corner. The really important aspect here is setting up your exit from Junção. The run from here to the Senna S is the longest acceleration zone of the track. You won't be lifting through either Water Tower or Subidos dos Boxes. Shorten the run as best you can by hugging the inside, and also remember that'll help you when you get to the first corner because you'll still have the inside covered off if you need. Just watch out for any cars that are pitting who might be slow on the racing line. Hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Interlagos. There you see a lap around Interlagos as here in this, obviously real time, we have a nice little sunset on our hands for this evening race. But sun is not set it on the championship quite yet. In fact, we're only halfway through. Bill, what are we looking at for the point situation?
Actually, today wraps up the first half of it. Let's go ahead and look at the LMP1s. Not a lot of surprises here. Maybe the biggest surprise is the Wyvern Racing Silver Star of Cy Onder down in 4th position, 26 points back. Hey, keep in mind that these races, see those two droplets that are highlighted up there? These take into account both drops allowed for in the rules. De Vries and Tinsey up in front. Tinsey looking pretty, or De Vries looking pretty good with 141 points and 22 points in his pocket. Let's go ahead and look at the LMP2 standings down here. Maybe the biggest surprise here is how about Ross Booth, after a good result last time out, jumps into a tie for 3rd for TMC Racing. That's great job from him. Gerard and McGarvey relatively close together. Billy Smith holding station in 3rd. Let's go down to the GTEs now. This is interesting. Paul Darling out in front, but only by 3 points over Steve McGarvey. And still, easily in the hunt is Bradley Haley. What is really interesting, look at the two drivers making moves. Ryan Huff up 4 spots, and then an AM driver, Kevin Santana for Autobahn Motorsports West. Now he's got 4 points, his biggest drop. That's why he's got so many points there. He sits in 5th. Let's go to the AM Championship, and sure enough, If you sit 5th in the overall, you better be leading the AMP Championship, and that's what Santana is doing. He's only got 9 points, though, on Paul Lindsay. You can see that the droplet races are a little smaller here. These guys don't score quite as much. Samuel Scott, Emmanuel Ijere down there, and then rounding out is Tim McLeish. Finally, to the team championship. We'll take a look at that. And there you can see what's going on. Not a whole lot of changes going on up top as SRN Motorsports Black. They are clearly the class of the field. How about this, though? Their cousin team, Motorsports Orange, down there in 5th, with Young, Hasebeck, and Mole moving up into 5th place. Joe, there you have it.
Oh, thanks for that, Bill. And if you've never watched the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge before, well, this is what you're in store for. This is one of their more standard races that they have. We are, of course, in round 7 that we have out of 14 here this season, so pretty decently long schedule. The race only 60 minutes long. This is one of their sprint races. They do 90-minute races for their endurance ones. The open setups in this field means that you're going to see a big difference, especially in the LMP ones, where the setup can be a bit of a mystery if you're not used to those very complex cars. However, you see that restricted fuel. That means you can expect at least one pit stop out there today. They can't go as long as the real-world counterparts can. We do have an incident cap at 24 incidents, which means if you accrue enough spins, off tracks, contact with another car, contact with wall, you will be disqualified when you hit 24 of those incident points. You will be removed from the track immediately. There are no spare cars as well. The drivers, if they damage it, they're going to have to go in and get repairs if they want to have it spick and span yet again. And speaking of cleaning things up, let's head over to Taylor Burris, who's got the keys to the race.
Well, of course, one of the biggest keys is going to be involving that incident cap here tonight. Drivers are going to have to be very careful of not going off track. As we ride on board with Bradley Haley coming up, he's going to be going onto one of the corners where it's very easy to go off course, which will in fact cause an incident point if he goes way too far off. So drivers are going to be even careful to make sure they place their cars in the right spots so that way they do not get that incident cap. Also, this track is very difficult to pass. There's only a few small passing opportunities, so patience will be key for both our LMP1 and LMP2 drivers when trying to get around these GTE cars. So the drivers are going to have to be patient, keeping an eye around of what's going on. Our GTE drivers are going to have to remain focused, eyes vigilant for things coming up behind them, as well as what's going on in front of them when they're battling on the track. So Joe, this is going to be quite the interesting race. A lot of ups and downs for these drivers as we're pretty much going through halfway through the season so far.
Yep, this will finish off the first half once we see the checkered flag here at the end of the 60 minutes as we ride on board with John Ulmer. They are in mixed class qualifying right now. It's called the last chance qualifying, basically because each class has their own set qualifying time. But if other requirements in your real life require you to miss it, you can come in here for this mixed class just so that everybody gets an opportunity. However, they cannot set a foot on track during their scheduled class qualifying just so that nobody games the system. Just about a minute and a half left in this. One of the things that we mentioned, Bill, with there could be some new viewers, if they've been watching the qualifying times up at the top, and if they were watching the LMP1s, they see the likes of Cy Andra and Robert Tinsley up at the top, and Jason DeVries down there in third. And that might seem like, oh, well, we can expect Andra or Tinsley likely to win, but honestly, my bet's probably on DeVries.
Yeah, DeVries very strong. I think the biggest alarm for me is what's obvious by not being there, and that's John Ulmer, who's really fast, but I don't think he likes these cars as well as he likes the HPDs. He's down there in 7th. There's a new driver, though, I think we need to keep an eye on in GTEs. Taylor knows a little bit about that. A new name coming in.
Yes, indeed. Dallas Pataska had decided to make his debut here at the Autobahn Sports Car Club Group here at Interlagos, replacing Scott Corbin due to the fact of some incidents as far as with health issues arising for Scott Corbin and the family. So Dallas Pataska has been drafted by the Wyvern Racing team to come here and compete for this team. And by the looks of it, looking at the time charts right now, Dallas Pataska putting on a very good debut here, starting looks like going to be in the 3rd position as we look at the qualifying sheet. So Pataska's always been a fast driver. Love watching him race, whether it be here, the majors, or a lot of the major oval series that he competes in throughout the years.
And Dallas was in second when his qualifying session ended, but since Bradley Haley is out there, he's bumped him down to that third position. There you can see the checkered flag is out. These drivers are able to finish their hot lap. This is Christopher Sherburne, 19th within his class, who is hoping to improve because he's only got one car below him. That's Matt Owens. Let's see if this last one, and he's going to abandon the lap. So that is going to be it for Sherburne. In fact, it's going to be it for all of our drivers who have all come in. Our grid is set. Let's go through our starting order. On the pole in the LMP1s, I mentioned it before, Cy Andra up at the top, and on the outside of the front row is going to be Robert Tinsey. But between those two very fast drivers, only one race win this season. That went to Tinsey in round one. And the majority of wins have gone to third place driver Jason DeVries, who will start the second row. Mike Young with a nice podium last round will start in fourth. Good chances for him to get another one. Brandon Gracia, another one of our winners this season in the LMP1, starts P5. Daniel Gralty will start in sixth, and we mentioned it, John Ulmer just has not been able to get up to pace. It's already halfway through the season. I think it's going to be a hard ask for him to make any inroads in the championship, especially coming from seventh. Robert Kansian, another one of our newer drivers here, coming into the LMP1s, will start eighth, and Lionel Duprat, if I can say his name right, will round out our LMP1 field. Bill?
Joe, 9 entries in LMP1, one more in LMP2, and it's going to be topped by Jason Girard. He's going to be inside of Scott McGarvey. And there's Billy Smith, the second, down there in third position. Sheldon Rosenbaum, always sneaky fast if he can keep the car on the track. Ross Booth making his way up through the standings, going to be next. Carter Kundinger and James Stacy go after them. Sean Reese, Mark Schindel, and Chris Pence is the 10th in class. Taylor?
We got a big field here in the GT category with 20 cars starting the field in the GTE category, with Alex Simonik starting on the pole position for that class. Alongside him will be Bradley Haley. Dallas Pataska making an excellent start to his debut, starting in the third position. He'll be starting alongside Stephen McGarvey. Paul Darling, our points leader, will be starting in the 24th position overall, followed by Ryan Huff. Giuliano Romagnolo will start in 26th overall alongside Samuel Scott. And then Alex Ellis and Leif Peterson will start in 28th and 29th, followed by Paul Lindsay in 30th. Dean Mole will start in the 31st position alongside Kevin Santana, our GTE AM points leader, in 32nd. Dave Hill and Emmanuel Agiri will start in 33rd and 34th, followed by Mark Kradowski and Dale Green in 35th and 36th, followed by Sheldon Woloshin and Christopher Sherburne in 37th and 38th. And rounding out our field will be Matt Owens in that number 77.
There you see the field lining up. They get half a pace lap around here, then they get going for those 60 minutes. Roof Pace Car going to lead them through the technical back half of the circuit. While we wait for them to take off, let's go to our traditional question. We'll start with Bill. Who is your pick for today?
I know you like Jason DeVries, but I think Cy Andra is due, so look for him to go wire to wire. It's time for him to get that win. Down in the LMP2s, boy, you know, there's just not enough money coming back on my wager on Jason Girard or McGarvey. Let's see Billy Smith from third. That's where the good value is. Let's go with that one. Taylor?
Well, this is going to be a tough one. We have, of course, Alex Simonik, who's been always, when he's on the front row, always pulls away.
No. Keep going. That's the wrong one, though. Keep going.
As we also have possibility of Dallas Pataska showing his skills here tonight. So I'm going to go with Dallas Pataska.
That's the one, baby. That's what you're going with.
The one interesting thing we should point out about Simonik, though, he's the only driver in the GTE class who has taken multiple wins. Everybody else has only had a single win so far in that class. So I don't know. I think Simonik could have a good chance. Bradley Haley overdue, though. He has not won it yet this season, but still pretty high up in the championship. He's going to have to start doing something and taking some wins if he wants to get his first championship. You can see the cars working their way in and out of these weaving snake-like S's out of the Little Orange into the Duck's Bill. And then coming through Morgulo into Zhongshao. Zhongshao going to be one of those very critical corners accelerating out to give yourself a good chance to maybe have an overtake up into the infamous Senna S. We'll see how pit strategy comes into play, maybe trying to avoid some of the traffic on this back half of the course, possibly if you have trouble getting around someone. Sometimes drivers can have a hard time trying to overtake on this circuit. See them now climbing up the long uphill. It is basically completely uphill all the way from that last braking event in the junction, Zhongxiao, up to the start-finish line before they brake for the Senna S. So momentum will be key. All right, the roof pace car getting ready to peel off into that pit entry. Got to watch out as the cars come up to that when they are at speed. Making sure you don't run into someone. Green flag waves immediately here for round 7 in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. Sayandra with a fantastic jump. Robert Tinsley is on the outside of De Vries down into the first corner, but he's going to be able to outbrake him. And it looks like there are no incidents in this first chicane. Let's go to the LMP2s.
Gerard gets a great jump, and right behind him, Billy Smith follows him through from third into second. Losing his position is McGarvey, Rosenbaum, and Ross Booth round out your top 5. Tim?
Down to the Senna S's, it is still Simonic, but it looks like Pataska will take the second place over Bradley Haley. As they go down, McGarvey and Darling are trying to battle it out to see who will hold on to the 4th position in class. McGarvey is able to hold off.
As far as I can tell, beautiful, clean start in all 3 classes. There's those GTE cars hitting the second good opportunity to pass as we switch over now to the LMP1s hitting the Duxbill. It is a very short lap around here. You can tell with our 3rd class barely getting into the 4th corner and the fastest class almost completing the lap now. Sayandra with a fantastic gap over Jason De Vries, and De Vries very much under threat from Tinsley. Tinsley going to be able to take it over immediately as De Vries very slow out of the junction. Mike Young as well going to overtake Jason De Vries. So Tinsley temporarily lost second place. We didn't see the pass earlier, but he got it back very, very quickly. Let's see if De Vries has anything to get that car back forward. His MO so far this year has not only been being fast, but staying out of trouble, Bill.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be easy to stay out of trouble early. Boy, but when they get to the 20 cars in the GTEs, when these LMP1s come around, and that's going to happen fast, lap traffic is going to be really hard.
Down into the LMP2s, it's a similar situation because Jason Gerard already stretching away from Billy Smith. Smith, not too much of a worry right now sitting there in second because McGarvey isn't within attacking range, but Sheldon Rosenbaum has been hot on the heels of McGarvey. He's backed off a little bit now that they hit the Ferradura. You can see those 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place cars getting a little bit equidistant.
McGarvey had a horrible start, allowed Billy Smith to jump him right off in the start. Smith first into corner number 1. Rosenbaum doing a good job. Ross Booth trying to stay with the leaders best he can.
Yeah. As we jump over to 3rd place in the GTE class, Bradley Haley is hot on the heels of Dallas Pataska. And I think Haley may have raced Pataska before because I want to say that we've seen Haley in the majors before, and I'll have to double check that. Regardless, it's pretty similar. All 3 classes are seeing the lead start to pull away. Simonic has got himself about a 1.5 second gap over Pataska at the moment, with number 16 of Haley as they come back up towards the front stretch, climbing the hill, is going to try to reel that black and red car in.
Yeah, this little section right here, the front straightaway, is a good opportunity to set up to utilize the slipstream to try and close in on the competition, maybe even save a little bit of fuel. So Haley's trying his best as they head down towards the Senna S's right now. McGarvey, though, closing the gap. He was quite faster that last time by, so Haley must have made a small mistake, which reeled in McGarvey to the battle. And now Haley's closing the gap now onto Dallas Pataska. They head down the Reta Oposta.
Towards the Interlagos. He's got a fantastic run. He is within that slipstream, ducks to the inside, but he runs out of track and cannot outbrake him into the corner. Stephen McGarvey, because of that, is now going to get his opportunity. He tries to get a run on Bradley Haley, but Haley goes defensive up towards Ferradura. They're a little bit side by side on entry, but just not enough grip around the outside means that McGarvey's going to have to wait for another chance. Can he give it? Send it into turn 8. Lock of the brakes to Haley, but Taylor, he's not giving it up easy.
No, he's not. He is going to put on a fight. Even though it's early on, these drivers do not want to give up track position this early on in the race. It's still very early to where you can easily lose time, especially when those pit stop cycles start happening. So drivers are trying their best to hold their position if they're trying to stay there in order to gain time when the pit stops happening later on.
Tell you what, Taylor, this is a real who's who at the top of the GTE field. I mean, we've got Dallas Pataska, who isn't proven in this series, but we know he's fast. We've watched him win in the majors. There's Bradley Haley, who we've seen win multiple times. There's Stephen McGarvey, who finally got his first win again and is a champion. And then behind them, Paul Darling as well into the mix. So I would not want to be in the thick of these guys, that's for sure.
Ooh, Haley locks it up as they enter the Senna S's again. He's got to be real careful not to lock him up too much. That can't.
Oh, and Paul Darling with a big mistake. He spins off track as we watch the pass made by McGarvey on Bradley Haley. Paul Darling gets it going again, but he is all the way down in 15th position. Everything happening at once in the top of the GTE.
While that's going on, Pataska made a serious mistake going off course now. He's now got to defend against Bradley Haley again as Stephen McGarvey was able to get by him.
Watching the replay of Darling having that little error, just a little too much curb, and that car went around. So Stephen McGarvey, 2 places in 1 lap during that replay. Pataska did lose out to him. The number 11 now has about 3.5 seconds to make up to our leader.
Yeah, Stephen McGarvey has momentum on his side after his excellent win at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. This is the track where he feels like he can maybe keep that momentum running and take the fight to Simonic and Darling.
Watching this so much that, Bill, we haven't gone to you at all for the battle for second up at the top in the fastest class.
Cy Ander's been running away, but Ander now in the lead, just got into the back of traffic. But here's where the real battle is. Kinsey has been hounded by Mike Young as they work their way around now those GTE cars. That was Sherburne and Owens that they go around. But since Kinsey has been kind of slow, Young's been behind him, and that's allowed DeVries to get in there as really close battle. Second, third, and fourth continue to fight as they work their way through the GTEs now.
You could see them going on either side. Just depends on what works best. Great stuff by those GTEs to see them coming. Just hold their line.
Contact.
There's a few more ahead. Go ahead.
We have contact between Giuliano Romagnolo and it looks like Leif Peterson. This was just coming down the back straightaway of Reta Oposta.
Peterson with a great save to keep going. Not so lucky for Romagnolo.
Watching Romagnolo here on the replay. Coming down to the Interlagos. Easy to outbrake yourself into this corner. Oh, but that's not the case where it happened. Just ran across his bow.
Looks like Giuliano thought he was maybe clear to set up the racing line to make that corner, but just did not get a clear enough.
As you can see, Romagnolo got it going once again. And our LMP1 leaders are really in a lot of traffic right now. And this is actually helping Robert Tinsley get to our leader, Cy Andritz. Held him up something fierce.
Chopped up a ton of time, and now he has a great run. He may actually have enough momentum to get there before the first corner, maybe not, but look at how much ground he's picked up. He is Bob the Blade after all. Mike Young and DeVries following Bob the Blade right through all that traffic, and it doesn't get any better. There's a bunch of those GTE guys.
Yeah, now they're getting into the top runners who aren't going to want to pull over as much and give away the time. That's Huff that they're going by. Alex Ellis, Bradley Haley is next, Dallas Pataska. We must have missed an error from Bradley Haley for Pataska to already be up to him.
No, Pataska was able to hold him off when he made that mistake a few laps ago.
Oh,
so
that's right. Sorry, excuse me. I was thinking of Paul Darling that had the mistake. That was my error. Whoa, there goes Robert Tinsley closing in on Cy Andra. Man, he gained a lot of ground in the braking. Stephen McGarvey up next as Andra gets to the inside through the ducks. Bill holds him up slightly, but he finds himself a little bit of track space Puts a car between himself and Tinsley. Certainly not helping McGarvey, who's now a whole 5 seconds behind Simonic. So we go to McGarvey. Must have had an issue with Brandon Garcia because I see him in the pits. That LMP1. Ooh, actually, he hit the wall, I believe. It was maybe about 40 seconds ago. No, he didn't hit the wall. He just pulled off. That looks like we won't be going to the replay then. Something, maybe a hardware issue, I'm guessing, Bill. He just pulled off the track.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on that one. It did look like hardware, though, from what I could tell.
GTEs, we're awful tight next to each other. That was Haley making the pass in the green car, and Alex Ellis takes advantage of Dallas Pataska. They nearly touched in the braking zone, did Haley and Pataska. So despite having good one-lap pace, Taylor, it looks like Dallas is getting a rough introduction to this series.
As Haley makes a mistake going into turn 8.
That's got to be a cut course penalty, him going across like that.
That definitely has to be a cut course penalty for that. He's not slowing down right now, but he is giving way to Alex Ellis as they go through the corner.
No, this could be the smart thing for him to do. He's trying to give the time back, but in the way that's the most obnoxious to the cars that he's racing. Unfortunately, it's getting in the way of some of the other classes there. That's the, let's see, that is Lionel Duprat and Robert Kanchin in the LMP1s.
Watching now, Ryan Huff's now getting into the mix right now. He's now going to be battling against Bradley Haley to make their way down the front straightaway again towards the Senna S's. He looks to the outside.
Huff
Not close enough.
Bad job here. Yeah, and he's going to try and outbrake him into the Senna S, but he's the outside on that first plunging apex. So that was not going to work for the orange and white machine of Huff. Haley is losing position after position here.
This is the battle that has been going on. Now, Gerard is racing away from these guys. We're looking at Billy Smith being challenged by Scott McGarvey. These guys are not to the back of the GTEs yet, but that's going to happen pretty soon. Gerard's opened up a 3-second gap over Billy Smith, who's trying to fend off the driver in fourth and third. There's McGarvey. And how about Sheldon Rosenbaum, who's doing a great job hanging with those guys in fourth?
Yep, and I think it was Sheldon Rosenbaum that we accidentally attributed a home win in Canada. He's a Texan. So apologies to Sheldon for that misidentification that we had last race.
Young has been working on Tinsey forever. He just cannot get it done.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna have to wait till they get to the LMP2 traffic for this to really happen. Look, he's got a good run here though.
Yeah, fantastic. Takes the inside. Tinsey doesn't defend. Maybe he just is trying to keep getting those good results that have allowed him good points so far this season. Can't pull the over-under on Mike Young. Watching the popcorn position, that yellow and black machine is still Jason DeVries through Ferradura. The order right now, second to the number 21 of Mike Young, third to Robert Tinsey, fourth to Jason DeVries. They've dropped about 2 seconds off Andra.
And that pass couldn't have happened at a better time, because just as that was done, Andra was getting it to Chris Pence, the last car in the GTEs, and he was able to knock off, I'm talking about Young, was able to knock off about half a second.
And that's last car in the LMP2s for Chris Pence.
Sorry about
Currently
that.
running about 8 seconds back. I know there's a lot of alphabet soup going around here. And he's just going to pull off to the side to let them through. So far, though, so good. We haven't seen a lot of tangles here in the back half of the course, but DeVries with an amazing run up the front stretch towards the Senna S. Tinsey trying to come back at him. Way late on the brakes, but he outbrakes himself, and they're still side by side through the Senna S, but the momentum swings back in favor of Deep Freeze. Wow, that got intense very, very quickly. And I can't tell if Tinsey simply outbraked himself, or DeVries has been kind of known to save a little bit of fuel.
Yeah, now here's
he was. Yeah.
Right, here's the deal. Usually they can do it a 60-minute stop on one stop. if it's the kind of track that doesn't burn a lot of fuel. I think with all the twisty sections here, I don't think this track is all that thirsty. I think it's a one-stopper for the LMP1s.
It is, but saving fuel always could be advantageous, especially if you can use that battery in the LMP1, I would think. So, I don't know. Meanwhile, Mole in a battle. This is down in 10th in the GTEs. I don't know if you've been watching this, Taylor, but this looks pretty tight.
Yes, indeed. And here comes Paul Darling back on the charge again after his spin early on into the Senna S's. He's going to look to the inside of his teammate of Samuel Scott. They're going to go side by side. This is bringing in our GTE AM points leaders, Kevin Santana, into the mix as they make their way up to the Ferradura.
He's going to try and go the long way around of Samuel Scott at this double apexer, but Scott holds him off for now. Still, there is very little between this group of cars. Again, that's 9th Mole, 10th Darling, Scott in 11th, Santana in 12th, and at the very tail of it is Emmanuel Ejere. So all the way from 9th to 13th, these cars.
Yeah, it's a really good battle between these guys. The Ford is leading amongst these 4 Ferraris in front of him, so the rivalry will still continue, but looks like Mole's going to need a little help as he tries to make the way up down this long incline towards the front straightaway.
DeVries just went around the outside of Mike Young to move up into second in LMP1. Great move around the outside. Woo. Let's take a look at that one. It was a gutsy move.
All right, this looks like it was down into the Ducks Bill, or no, this was around Little Orange. Looks like he got held up by James Stacy, and then that threw him off, and once the pace was in favor of DeVries, he was not waiting for a second invitation.
Now, guys, I'd like to go to LMP2 leader, because remember that battle you were talking about? It won't be long till he gets in that one as well, the one in the GTEs, although that looks like Mole and Darling, they got that sorted out a little.
Yeah, no surprise that Darling was able to get by Mole. We've covered his climb back up the order from an early error of his own making. There's Gerard now, the leader in the championship. Dominant leader so far this season, having won 4 out of 6 races.
Getting into the back of that traffic, he's got a 3.7 second gap. We'll see how it fares up by the time he gets done.
Yep, his first up, Emmanuel Ejere, just going to get to the inside of him. The extra oomph and speed of the LMP2s gets him a nice head of steam, so we'll get Santana. I don't know if he'll get Samuel Scott. Oh, and Paul Darling is in. 42 minutes. I think he can get to the end from here.
Good little strategy call the points leader needs to try and improve. He's had an up and down season, especially, with his win early on in the season at Daytona. He's needing to try and keep that points lead as best he can, so maybe try to get a little bit of a clean racetrack in front of him as he exits off pit road right now. And this could be a good strategy. We'll have to keep an eye on Mr. Darling as he goes through the race tonight.
Let's go to Billy Smith real quick. This is going to be interesting because not far behind Billy Smith is Cy Andra. This is going to be a madness going on. Here comes the LMP1 leader up behind the LMP2 second place driver.
Billy Smith being very, very liberal with the track limits, taking to the paved runoff to make his way around the traffic. But yes, indeed, that's McGarvey chasing him down. They're effectively fighting for scraps. These two are the next ones down in the championship points in LMP2. But man, Jason Gerard has just taken to this new mix of classes so well compared to some other drivers. It's hard to bet against him for the championship the way things have gone so far.
Andre is in a pinata full of bees right now. Now he goes underneath Billy's. Oh, there they go. Boy, those LMP1 cars are fast.
Yeah, not much time to think. And another one's coming through. It's the second place driver of Jason DeVries with a full head of steam. Oh my goodness, Dean Mole had to be watching both ways, and he manages to get through there. Here comes his teammate behind him of Mike Young.
Tinsey coming through as well.
Tinsley is fighting for position with Mike Young, and Mike Young's going to get boxed in. That was Billy Smith just in the place that Mike Young did not want, so Robert Tinsley back on the podium. And they are still chasing Cy Andre. They have not lost touch with him, really. Less than a second between Andre and De Vries. De Vries has to get by Ryan Huff as Andre tries to put as many GTE cars between himself and his rival.
It's all been traffic that has brought Andre, and Andre was way out in front. The traffic has really slowed him down. Now this is the leader of LMP2. That's Jason Girard going underneath Bradley Haley. Some big names here.
And not only has Andre only taken 2 podiums so far this season, he has not taken a win, and he might not take a win today because Jason De Vries back up next to him, fighting to get P1 away. A little bit of top-end speed is going to help Cy Andre fend him off for now.
Boy, that said a lot. De Vries had great run, great momentum, and then when he pulled alongside Andre, the car just didn't go. Andre's got that downforce dialed out, I think.
Yeah, and you can see him gaining on him yet again, coming off the corner. And he's, oh, wow, yeah, and then he brakes much later than the car of Cy Andre gaining ground. This, to me, says that we're going to see Jason De Vries be a lot more handy through this next few set of corners.
And in traffic.
That's true, too, yeah. Should be able to go wherever he wants. And guess who's joined the party? Here comes the car of Robert Tinsley. Bob the Blade can try and see if he can get to the lead. He's only taken 1 win this season. Let's stay on this battle, but a quick update on the GTEs. Taylor, pit strategy coming into play with other cars.
Yes, indeed. Bradley Haley decided to take his car down pit road to service it with fuel and tires. So far has still completed his pit stop and has joined the track. So it looks like some drivers might also start considering to pit early. So we'll have to definitely keep an eye on Bradley Haley as he was running up towards the top 3 for the majority of the race.
You know, Bill, you made an interesting point about the traffic, because as soon as the traffic cleared up, Cy Andre pulled a gap.
He's gone, absolutely. And that I've seen that. That happened when he cleared the GTEs, and it happens now. But when they get into traffic, that's where De Vries, well, he really made his hay.
You can see, though, De Vries has dropped off of the likes of Andre. Tinsley has regained some ground on Jason De Vries. The deep freeze may have to stop going from attack mode into defense mode here. Let's see what Bob the Blade can do with him. And man, despite it not being a very attrition-filled race, it's been filled with quite a bit of action, I have to say, because we're nearly halfway through this thing, and it doesn't feel like it's been that much time. Down to the GTE's 14th, Mark Kudrowski, Sheldon Woloshin, and a nice little fight. And it sounds like Mark has actually just made that move recently. Let's take a look at the replay. Taylor, the Senna S sees another overtake.
Yes, looking at the replay right now, it looks like Kudrowski's going to look to the outside of Woloshin, then dive to the inside, point his nose saying he wants to make this pass, gets laid onto the brakes to make that pass, and Kudrowski moves up, getting by Woloshin in the Ferrari. So, great pass.
As we come back live, you see Kudrowski still in that 944 and actually pulling away a little bit, half a second back to Woloshin. He's got good pace. You know, one driver we haven't given credit to that I think we should mention in the GTEs, the number 23 in 3rd place, Alex Ellis, is doing a fairly good job. He's kind of all by himself. He's got a big gap up to the next car, but he's really not under pressure from Pataska behind.
No, Alex Ellis has been running a really quiet race here tonight after getting inside the top 3 in class, and just really running his race, focusing on the track, making sure he stays out of the way of the LMP1 and LMP2. Of course, with its only win at Road America, he is looking to try and get another win for that Wyvern Racing team. make their way out of Little Orange towards Duckbill. And just been running a real smooth race, no pressure at all. His teammate Pataska is trying to close in on that gap. But so far, Alex Ellis has just now decided to show his skills here tonight.
The car in the windscreen you were looking at was Sheldon Rosenbaum in the LMP2s. Remember, he was trying to hang on to the back of those guys. Traffic really killed him. He has lost a lot of touch now, as the LMP2s are all spread apart.
Yeah, in fact, most of the field is pretty spread apart. There's very few drivers that are within a second of whoever they're trying to battle on track. So we watch Rosenbaum work his way down through the S's one more time. De Vries is one of those cars that is within a second, and importantly to him, it's of the leader, Cy Andra, that number 24.
Yeah, they're all within a second. De Vries has got about a second, a little more than a second back to Tinsey, who doesn't have much more back to Young, as those top four cars continue to race relatively competitively.
It's been good to see that, and the LMP2 have a battle for 7th place. Mark Schindel and James Stacy. Did we miss the overtake there? Is it still going on? No, looks like there was a bit of a challenge not long ago, as Stacy's trying hard to overtake that yellow and black machine. And Mark Schindel sticks a little bit of a nose in through the Little Orange. Doesn't quite pay off there. They got traffic in the form of Dallas Pataska up ahead of them.
Pataska's in a hurry as he's racing in 3rd in class. He'll want to let these guys by, but he doesn't want to lose any time in doing it.
And we understand that we missed a spin with Christopher Sherburne down in the GTEs. Taylor, what'd we miss here?
Yep, he just got a little bit loose, was able to recover, spin through the grass, no problem at all, is returned back out on track.
Number 135 finds himself 19th in that class, unfortunately, which is pretty far down the order. In fact, I think it's the last car running. Indeed, he is. Haven't missed action in Schindel and Stacy, Bill.
Coming up on the back of Alex Ellis now as they continue to work their way through the GTE leaders. Oh, Stacy going to get caught out there.
Yeah, I think that was very fortuitous from Mark Schindel. Ellis trying to stay out of the way, but just can't do much a lot of the times when you're trying to race your own race, and James Stacy doesn't lose too much time, but now he's got to regain that gap, which is stretched to about half a second.
Schindel up 4 spots. He started in 18th, up racing 14th overall. Stacy up a few.
Dave Hill and Emmanuel Jedre got a little bit of a fracas going on.
Dave Hill's been doing his best to hold him off as they go through Little Orange right now. Jedre's been trying to close that gap, but just gets too early on in the brakes to make those passes, which is able to allow Dave Hill to hold the line. And just doing a great job as they come out of Little Orange, as they have to worry about an LMP2 car of Chris Pence to come through to split them up. So that will be a little bit of a hindrance for Jedre.
Yeah, I think we should stay on this one because Andre's coming through this mix too. This is going to get really interesting here in a minute. Here he comes.
Oof, and he's got a lot of speed. He's not wanting to slow down. He gets one.
Oh! Where was he going, is Chris Pence?
I think he saw the car, the leader of Andra coming, was following Dave Hill, and thought that he would stay out of the way, but Hill moved out of his way at the last second. Poor Chris Pence then ran exactly into the pit entry wall.
Oh, he's going to feel that in the morning.
Yeah, this... iRacing needs to have some type of system where you're oh my gosh, where you're just like, you can't race for a couple months if you do something like that.
And yeah, I think that was the case. If he was blinded by Hill, just couldn't see what was in front of him, thinking he was going to do the safe thing, stay behind when that traffic was coming, and it bit him in probably one of the most unusual ways I've seen traffic bite people.
Chris Pence in the chat saying medic is needed. So, poor guy.
You know, in actual serious talk, I really hope he doesn't have a direct drive wheel, because those can injure you if he did not expect that coming. So thoughts go out to Chris Pence. As Peterson and Mole a little bit farther up in that GTE field have a nice little fight going on. That's Mole in the orange and white machine trailing behind the blue and black of Leif Peterson.
Leif Peterson's been showing quite some really good speed these past few races, having a good run at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and just doing his best to try to hold off Mole as they go through the Senna S's again. And down this back straightaway, Mole's going to try to utilize the slipstream, try to close the gap. Just not able to close enough. Now he has to worry about the LMP1 traffic of Mike Young coming by them. Not going to give him the line yet. Going to wait till they come off the corner exit.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the slipstream has been that powerful in these GTE cars this season.
No, really not. And it's been quite surprising this year, because we've seen in other series how it has been effective in some cases on some tracks, but here in this series it's been quite difficult to see the slipstream be used.
You know, as we're looking at this battle between Hilda and Jerry, real quick, you know all that traffic we saw there that Andra was going through? DeVries and Tinsey didn't want any part of it as they came in for a pit stop right then.
Yep, they've both been in and out, clean stops. A little bit longer for Tinsey, though, we should point out. About 2 seconds more in the pit stall for Bob the Blade. So we're right on board with Dave Hill. This is still a battle for 10th place. Looking back at Ejere. Going to get another chance to try and utilize the slipstream. Has to get a good exit off this corner, Taylor.
Yes, he did. As they go out of the junction, he was right on the back bumper, but had to lift a little bit in order to make the corner. Up this front straightaway they go, past the water tower. Let's see if they're going to determine to make a pit stop right now. Nope, it looks like Dave Hill, nope, will not make that stop. It is so confusing when they get down towards there. You think they're going to make that stop, but then they just dive right back onto the track.
Yeah, and Peterson did take into the pits. And I mentioned that in the pre-race, that it can be a danger if someone is pitting and they brake earlier than you're expecting, Taylor.
Yes, indeed. And as we saw, where some of these drivers are moving offline just to try to cut the course a little bit, shorten it in a sense, and then just getting right back before they get to that pit wall. It's just so difficult to make sure you time that just right. Otherwise, you'll end up like Chris Pence, even though he had someone in front of him. It's just so difficult and even dangerous in point to actually try to follow that move.
Oh, what about the pit exit? We just saw Peterson coming off of there. Are you able to take the exit around Curva de Sol inside the pit line flat out, or do you have to lift?
You have to lift just a little bit, just in order to be safe, in order not to cause any damage. You can lose your car a little bit. It will get a little light, a little loose through certain sections.
And while we watch this battle for position, because Mark Kudrowski has pit, or excuse me, Kevin Santana has pit, he gets by, and I can report that our leader in the LMP1s has come in for a stop.
Oh, this could be interesting. DeVries just getting onto the front straight now.
Andre's still stationary. DeVries coming up to brake for the first corner. And Andre's going. Ooh, this is going to be very tight.
Yep.
He's going to have the inside line, but will he have more momentum? Oh, I think the momentum's going to go in favor of DeVries, and he gets it done before the braking as they weave their way through the traffic of Christopher Sherburne. And Sherburne, that is not a lap battle, or excuse me, that is not a battle with the cars that are going by him. But DeVries now takes over what will be the lead, but he is not our leader currently. Mike Young, still out there, needs to take his pit stop.
DeVries was about 2 seconds faster, cone to cone, and that's really what made up the interval there. That's what got him the lead.
Young now taking his pit stop. I still say I think Jason DeVries had to have been trying to save fuel with the way we saw him braking a little early in places. And that short pit stop, you got to wonder. So Mike Young, the SRN Motorsports orange driver, comes and hits his stall. We're still waiting on Cantian and Duprat, the last two of the LMP1s, to take their stop. None of the LMP2s have come in.
Here comes Andra.
a third of the field as Andra tries to come back at him. A third of the field in the GTEs have pitted, 2/3 have not.
And they blow by Young. Young cycles out even behind Tinsey.
Interesting stuff there for these guys. Boy, they have been rifling off laps around here. They're already on lap 26 in this LMP1 class, being just over a minute long.
And they all went past the halfway mark, even the early pitters. So I don't think going the distance is a problem unless they shark-filled on their stuff.
Shouldn't be at all, I don't think, from what we've seen. Yeah, nobody at all looks like they should be having any problems getting to the end.
Well, you say that as we look at this battle with LMP2 here between, just to follow up, De Vries, though, was literally about 2 seconds faster in the box than anybody else.
And there was a little bit of a battle between Stacy and Schindel, but Stacy elected to pit. Maybe going to try and jump him with strategy instead of doing it on track. Down to 24 minutes left to go. So Stacy's actually, we should mention, the first of our takers in the LMP2 class to take a stop.
And I know we haven't been talking a lot about LMP2, but honestly, there's not a real battle there. It's still Gerard. Oh, go ahead.
We need a replay on Andra. He had a pass attempt into turn 1, but traffic came into play in the form of Dale Green. This was just about 40 to 50 seconds ago. It was into the Senna S. Let's see if we can find this.
Yeah, he had the pass made going into 1, but he just got behind Green and there was nowhere for him to put the car.
You're going to see here, he grabs the slipstream. He's gaining and he's gaining. And it looks like he's going to be able to do something on De Vries. De Vries covers him off to the inside, and actually very cleverly, because there you see, there's Dale Green. He doesn't know exactly where to put the car, and unfortunately puts the car of the driver of Cy Andra off just enough to cause him to have an off course.
That was fun.
And what this has done has meant that Robert Tinsey now closes in to within a second of Cy Andra. Ooh, and are we going to have a repeat? Look ahead. You can see that Andra's closing in on Jason De Vries. De Vries pulls the same move, covers him off to the inside. This time they weren't side by side. Oh, but De Vries a little bit hot into the corner, trying to carry the momentum. They're now going to be side by side through the Curva del Sol. Cy Andra just can't keep it with the grip lacking on that off racing line portion of the circuit. So De Vries survives for another day, but he is looking seriously under threat.
It's not a fair fight when they get on the straight line between De Vries and Andras. Andras' car is flying. This is where De Vries is good, but unfortunately, it's going to be hard to defend down the straight. I think Andras going to get the pass made this time.
That traffic once again hurting Deep Freeze as those two start to pull a gap on Robert Tinsey with the way that he has been caught up by that GTE traffic. One of those was our leader, Alex Simonik, that they got by. And Cy Andra is looking very, very close. Bill, I think this is going to be his best chance.
Yeah. Honestly, traffic is De Vries' best friend. He's really so much better at it through there than Andra. But I think this is a done deal. I'll be surprised if Andra doesn't finish this one. No traffic in front of him. Here he comes.
Ooh. Couldn't tell which way that De Vries was going to cover off and had to take evasive action. Still being made to go the long way around. You could see the late braking from Jason De Vries coming in handy, but as it switches back, the inside going to go to Andra. Can he carry the speed? This time he can. He finds the grip around the outside of the corner, and now he's got it done.
That was harder than I thought. De Vries was able to hang in there and make Andra go around the outside of 1, and that's not Andra's forte as they work their way around Bradley Haley.
Haley is taking his stop again, so he is down in 16th, but he should gain some positions. We're waiting for a lot of our leaders in the GTEs to come in for their scheduled pit stop. And in that class, Lindsay and Maul having their own little battle for 5th place.
Yeah, Paul Lindsay, who's running second in the GTE AM category, needs to have a good run here tonight in order to try to close that gap on Santana.
Rosenbaum pits from fourth position for LMP2.
So does Ross Booth. Carter Kundinger is in. Seeing a number of our LMP2 cars affect their strategies.
Not the front three. Gerard, Smith, and McGarvey running to try.
Let's put the cameras on Gerard. We haven't really looked at him for a long time. He's got a 7.5 second gap to Billy Smith. Billy, though he has won this season, just is not able to do anything with Jason. His only hope probably is going to be some bad luck for Jason in the traffic.
Well, you talked about that battle between Lindsay and Mole. Here he comes into it. This might not be a bad time to come in here. Jason? No, he's going to make quick work of him.
Catches him on the rung past the Subidos dos boxes.
Oh, but he listens to me.
He's going to come in anyways, yep. Maybe he saw some of those other drivers electing to come in, figured cover them off just in case they catch a gap that you don't have.
They're all coming. Those top three now are in. Smith and McGarvey follow suit.
Maybe it's the end of the window then. Sean Reese will be the telling factor. He's the last one out. You mentioned McGarvey is in. Smith is in. And we see them all lined up, and that is our leader, Jason Gerard, in the orange and white machine now past the cones and accelerating away. Ooh, bit of a longer stop for McGarvey, or is it a short stop for Smith? Because I'm looking at the times. McGarvey was in the stall the same amount of time as Gerard was. Smith, the one to be able to make the most time, and in fact, right now he has the shortest stop of anyone, unless Sean Reese can beat him, who is in now.
In the box for 11.3 seconds. Boy, that is that's not a lot of petrol.
Going to the Maul Lindsay battle once again. Maul been giving chase, and now he's much closer. Let's see, Taylor, if the slipstream is helpful enough at this race length.
Right now he's closing in on that gap. Right now looks to the outside. Lindsay tries his best to defend, holds the inside line as they make their way towards the Senna S's side by side, hard onto the brakes. Lindsay's got that inside line to help out with him as he makes the pass, holding him off. But Mole's got the inside line again as they complete through the Senna S's again. But Lindsay pulls off as they come out. But here comes one of the LMP2 cars off pit road 2, and he's going to clear him before they get to him.
Sean Reese shouldn't be in the way of these two, and even though they're heading down to the Descida del Lago, Mole just didn't have enough oomph off of the Senna S to be able to make an attack.
Let's go to 7th overall, leader of LMP2. This is Jason Gerard. We have our leaders together here. There goes Andra by. And now look at this. Here comes DeVries. DeVries has been able to hang in there. Oh, boy, he gets it wound up. Man, DeVries is able to break later than Andra, but Andra gets such a good drive off. I know there's a bit of an accordion effect, but look at DeVries work him. Here he comes on the outside.
Oh, trying to use that extra grip, but as the cars continue to run on the track, the marble's starting to build up offline, making it tougher to work that hard way around. Dave Hill, the next one for them. Cy Andra trying to do it. They're going to go 3 wide momentarily through the twisty bits. But still, he fends off Deep Freeze through the duck's bill.
How about Hill making that car as skinny as he could to let 2 LMP1 throughs?
Oof, and in fact, he's going to have to be split on either side by Robert Tinsey and Jason Gerard coming through. Both in different classes and both scooting off without any damage taken.
And now, with the clear track in front of him, Cy Andra says, see you later.
Ooh, Paul Lindsay has taken to the pits. This, I believe, is a scheduled stop. In and done as the number 70 comes towards the acceleration cone.
Looking through at some of our ones who have pitted early right now in the GTE category. Right now, Paul Darling has the one who is the highest pitter currently out of that group. And the one who's most surprisingly not doing quite well after his pit stop is Bradley Haley. He's sitting currently 31st overall, and just for some reason has not been able to make gains on the rest of the GTE field, surprisingly. Paul Darling's been able to work his way up through, of course, with the help of some other drivers in front of him pitting, but still, I'm shocked with Bradley Haley of how he's not been able to close the gap, as we see some of the back markers now finally making their pit stops.
Yeah, Stephen McGarvey, the number 11, our highest pitter out there, is sitting in 5th. So I think actually he's well ahead of Darling at this point, although he had a slightly longer pit stop, but it's close enough that I think that was scheduled. Should take him to the end. Alex Ellis in. Dallas Pataska has taken his stop.
As you could probably tell when we were picking our winners, I'm a huge Dallas Pataska fan. He's fast and exciting.
Yeah, Dallas Pataska, I used to race with him back in some oval leagues, and he was able to go toe-to-toe with some of the up-and-coming names, whether it be in NASCAR or some of the top names in the Peak Antifreeze series. We used to run leagues together, and he was by far just learning and listening to how he is able to just test these cars and pretty much just know how to place the cars and just dominate or run really well in a series, no matter the car or track. Was quite impressive, and that's why Pataska is by far one of the best all-around drivers I've seen here in recent years.
This is our leader. Is he going to pit? It's looking likely, and indeed, Simonic's going to take his stop. We're still waiting on Sam Scott and Dave Hill, the last two, to take their pit stops. Oh, I take that back. Sheldon Woloshin also has not come in yet. So once they pit in and out, we'll be able to run you down the top 5 in each of our classes. Simonic in and out with a decent stop, a very fast stop, actually. Fastest of anybody I see so far on my timing and score. And Stephen McGarvey, who is the next car to be able to challenge, is way, way back of Simonic. Alex has got this one in his pocket.
Well, that's going on. Samuel Scott and Dave Hill have both made their pit stops, so now we just have to wait on Woloshin.
Scott's out of his pit. Dave Hill out of his pit as well. Woloshin, the last one to come in, currently sitting in 14th. It really wouldn't affect our top 5, but let's watch to see if he's going to come in or take one final lap around. He's going to take another lap around. Somebody better check that Ferrari for an extra fuel cell in there. Well, let's go through our top 5 of each class anyways. Cy Andra up at the top, but it's been a very, very tight fight between himself and the driver with the most wins this season, Jason Deep Freeze DeVries, sitting in 2nd place. Robert Tinsey has won this season as well. He sits in 3rd, but he's dropped back a little bit since we last looked. That could still come down. They're about 4 seconds back between 2nd and 3rd. 4th place goes to Mike Young. He was in the mix for a little while, but has also dropped back down there in the 4th position. Daniel Gralty, haven't really shown a whole lot of him since the drop of the green. He is pretty much by himself as far as position with cars in his class, sitting in 5th place. Bill, what's the LMP2s look like?
Oh, man, these guys are spaced out like pepperoni on a really cheap pizza. Gerard is up by 4.5 on Billy Smith. Billy Smith, that's about 6.5 on McGarvey Smith right now in that mess of battle there. He tries to get around. That is Stephen McGarvey's brother. Let's talk about Scott McGarvey racing in 3rd. He's got a little bit of work to do there. He's got Dale Green in front of him and Alex Ellis, and we'll be getting around him here in a second, I think. You got Sheldon Rosenbaum back in 4th in no man's land. Nobody close to him. And how about Ross Booth? He's in 5th. Taylor?
Alex Simonic's pretty much in his own zip code for the most part. An 11-second gap over 2nd place driver of Stephen McGarvey. Both these drivers have been having quite a quiet race so far. 3rd place goes to Alex Ellis in that number 23 Porsche. Been having a quiet battle, but still battling it out with his teammate newcomer to the series, Dallas Pataska in that number 33 Porsche. And then rounding out your top 5 is that 155 Paul Oh My Darling in that Ferrari, making a great comeback after his early spin through the Senna S's. So still a little bit of racing left, so let's see what these drivers are able to do.
And we got to go to the lead because Jason DeVries is all over the back of Cy Andra now. We'll get to Santana in a minute. I know he's fighting for the AM Championship, but this is the LMP1 battle for the lead. Cy Andra, again, has yet to win this season. Despite having incredible pace and fighting for the championship last season, despite him putting it on pole multiple times this year, Cy Andra has still not stood at the top of the podium once the checkered flag has flown. Jason DeVries hounding him around every corner, but the difference in their setup,
I've been watching it, and this is what happens. If DeVries can get out in front, he'll be able to defend through the twisty section, but it's so hard to defend down the straight. Look at Andra just open it up, and DeVries runs him down. DeVries needs traffic.
Well, and he needs traffic along that stretch from Water Tower into the boxes where he's losing time.
It's really fascinating, though. By the time they get back over through to the duckbill, DeVries will be back on him again. You know, we talked about that battle we wanted to look at for Santana and Peterson. Well, here it is.
Yes, Santana and Peterson have been going up as they go through LMP1 traffic right now. Here comes Cy Andra right now. Paul Lindsay, though, is ahead of him by 1 car, though, in this class for the GTE and points battle. So a good night for Paul. Santana needs to close that gap and find a way to catch up to Samuel Scott to try and maintain the bleeding, in a sense, over the GTE and points lead. So, but he's still got to worry about Leif Peterson as they make their way towards duckbill.
Yeah, Jason DeVries had a horrible time getting through Santana and Peterson and lost a bunch to Cy Andra.
Santana better be careful as he was sitting 5th overall. They're going to take his AM status away from him if he keeps it up.
I'll have to check. I want to say there might be a rule where they promote the winner of the AM Championship. I'll double check on that, but I think that would be fair, like you said, with the performance he's been giving. I want to say he actually finished with a top 5 at the last round in Mosport even.
Yeah, he's been hot.
We will try to confirm that, though, but just want to clarify that that is not for sure on if they do that here in this series, so we'll try and get you some accurate information on that. So right on board with Santana, looking back through the splitter, or through the diffuser, excuse me. Splitter's on the front side of the car.
You know, I'm trying my best. His last name is kind of like a Santanagram if you start mixing the letters around. And he races in the 666 car. I'm not saying anything, but it is kind of creepy with Halloween coming up.
Well, he's having a devil of a time trying to hold Peterson back as he continues to poke and prod with his nose each corner, but not able to do anything with him. Only 7 minutes left to go. Time is running out for our drivers if they want to make another position.
We talked about this being a clean race, Joe. I only see 4 drivers out. Well, maybe Mark Kordowski is out now as well. Pence, Romagnolo, Garcia, and Omar.
I should start hyping up more races as being, you know, frustrating and full of traffic, because I talked about how it has that reputation here in the intro, and yet this has been relatively polite.
Well, it's not from lack of action. It's just
Peterson's got to run. Peterson's coming at him, but just can't quite get the car to the inside. Look at the tires, though, of Santana starting to smoke. I think Santana is pushing hard to keep him back. He takes too much curb coming through the Curva de Sol, and you can see that costs him as now Leif Peterson has the inside coming up to the Interlagos. This pass is not done yet, though. He's got to seal the deal. Oh, no! Santana, that AM Championship is going to hurt. He ends up on his lid, and it is a definite tow. Well, Paul Lindsay just inherited a nice bit of points in that AM Championship.
Yes, indeed. By the looks of it, just got a little bit loose, went offline as they come out of the Senna S's. Kevin Santana just tried his best, but a little bit of contact, possibly, if not netcode. Santana then under braking gets it loose and then just goes the wrong way.
Did he possibly have his wheels off into the grass? I wonder.
I think he did just a tear, and that can be very detrimental, especially with these GTE cars, and pretty much with any car here. One false move where you have too much.
Oh, go to one! DeVries gonna get him! Amazing!
Wow, what a move! He's not gonna get him though, I don't think. He tried his hardest. Who was that he weaved around?
Alex Ellis. Oh my gosh, yeah.
We get a replay, especially an onboard of Jason DeVries. Whew, that was heart in your throat stuff. You said he needed traffic to help him out, and he was trying to get traffic to help him out. Look at this. Gosh. That is the guy on the highway going from lane to lane without his blinker on. Didn't quite work out, but he's still within reach, about half a second back from Cy Andra. I talked about the time ticking down, Bill. I think that DeVries knows it. I think he's got a fire lit underneath him. Ooh, that's what he needed. That is exactly what he needed. That was Ross Booth who got in the way of Cy Andra, slowed him up just a little bit, but not quite enough. Sorry to cut you off there, Bill.
No, that's exactly I was going to say the same thing. Fortunately for Andra, it's pretty clear track now. He's got Matt Owens out there, but he's all by himself. That should be pretty easy pickings. Look at the closing though from DeVries here.
He started trying to get into his head. He's ducking his nose out when he's way back there. It's Matt Owens gonna let them through politely. Yeah, it seems like these high-speed corners are the best friend of Jason DeVries. And I feel like that has to go back down to the downforce. He shoots off of him. Down through the little orange, now into the Ducksbill. Downforce not as helpful here through these slow corners. Regulo should help him. That should gain him a little bit of time. But then they come up to Zhong Xiao, and this is where it just all unravels for Deep Freeze. Down on the GTEs, Dave Hill and Emmanuel Ejere. I believe these two have been in a fight on screen before in this broadcast.
I don't think they ever separated from each other. They pitted around the same time as well when the pit stop cycle happened. And they just still been at each other all night long. Ejere trying to find a way to get by Dave Hill. They make their way towards the little orange. Hugs the inside curbing. Dave Hill is trying as they make their way up towards Ducksbill. And just excellent racing between these two. This is pretty much the best racing we've had all night in the GTE category. Ooh, as Dave Hill gets a little bit loose. And still is able to pull away.
The Canadian holds on to it. Ejere stalking him, seeing if he can set him off the final corner. And he does get a run, and he is going to be within the slipstream, but is he going to be close enough within the slipstream? That's the question. The car of Sean Reese in lap 1, but he's only going to be able to get one, and he's going to have to split them. Bad news for Emmanuel Ejere.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest downfalls when in the GTE category, when a faster LMP1 or LMP2 splits your competition. Now you have to catch up and find a way to gain back up to that car. Looks like Emmanuel is going to try to make their way right hard onto the brakes right through here section. Just closing in bit by bit, but Dave Hill has been running quite the smooth race here tonight.
Yep, Hill trying to use the draft of any car that comes by him to get that little bit of speed and make him safe. Once again, Gerard this time, the LMP2 that gets on the inside of Ejere and just compromises his racing line. But lap traffic giveth and lap traffic taketh, because Dave Hill got compromised into 8. And now Ejere is all over that gearbox once more. Right on board with the TNT Racing Gold driver. You can see the view out the windscreen, just how tantalizingly close that Ford is.
I know from driving experience when you're racing a car in front of you and you want to go past him, but just you want to be smart, not to over push that car to where you end up making a mistake. And all that time that you worked hard to gain throughout a race, it's gone in a snap. So he's going to have to be careful.
I think our leader's going to get the white flag lap. Now, Andre just got around McGarvey, but I don't think he's going to get Billy Smith before this first corner. Oh, yes, he is.
He's going to try. Oh, I'm coming through. I'm in a fight. And Billy Smith, he doesn't want to give up time either. That cost Cy Andre, but only about half a second, and it was about a second and a half before. Oh, way off track goes the car of Jason DeVries. Did not pick the right side around that LMP2. I don't think it cost him too much. It certainly looks scary.
Haley gets out of the way for the leader. Here comes DeVries, flashing his lights like a maniac.
He's not slowing down for anybody, that's for sure.
Oh no, they got trouble. They got that battle between Hill and Ajiri in front of them. This could be it right here.
I don't know. Jason's just so far back right now. It's going to have to be an absolute horrible time through these last few corners for Cy Andre. He's going to get through Emmanuel. Then he's going to come up to Dave Hill. Hill slows him up just a little bit, but this is where he's fast, and that is important because it's the last lap with the white flag out. As he has to get inside of Voloshin, but it's not going to be enough because Cy Andre is going to take the win here for his first win finally of the season at Interlagos.
You know, it was Alex Simonix coming home, leading from start to finish, putting on a dominant performance here tonight. As Alex Simonix comes up to the junction corner one last time. Gets a little bit loose, but no issue at all. He's got a large gap over Stephen McGarvey pretty much. Down the front straightaway they go for the final time. Alex Simonix will win here at Interlagos for a dominant performance here. Help him in the points championship as well.
Indeed, the only driver to have won multiple races in that class, and he keeps that stat up this race. Jason Girard, he has been a force to be reckoned with, not just in this race, but also in this season itself. Bill, I think it's looking like 5 for 7 here today.
Yeah, he's in pretty good shape. It's been wire to wire. Actually, there's not been any battles going on in this class the whole time. Just all about negotiating, and they all did it well. McGarvey, Smith, Rosenbaum, Booth coming home right where they started.
So to the line, Jason Girard takes win number 5 in Brazil. And that is going to be the last of our drivers across the line just behind him. So with that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around too, because on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Interlagos, where we just watched round 7. We are now officially halfway through the season here in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. The winner, it's been a long time coming this season. He's had speed at other races. He couldn't avoid the trouble. Today, he did. Cy Andra, his first win. Jason DeVries came home in second. He's still looking like a force in the championship. If he keeps getting those podiums, it'll be hard to catch him. Robert Tinsey finished behind him, taking third, with Mike Young a nicely earned fourth place there. Daniel Gralty as well, another top 5 for him. He takes 5th place. And then Robert Kantian rounds out our finishers in the LMP1s. Bill in 6th place.
Then we get to Jason Girard, and these guys are coming home just the way that they qualified here. Jason Girard ahead of Scott McGarvey and Billy Smith. Sheldon Rosenbaum lost touch with the leaders, was able to hang on to 4th. Ross Booth in 5th. He was challenged. Carter Kundinger was coming at the end, but Booth was able to hold on to that final top 5 position. Behind Kundinger is Mark Schindel, and then we have James Stacy in there as well. Then the lone LMP1 driver that's out of place, that's Lionel Duprat. We get to Sean Reese down there in 28th overall. He was about 10th in class, 9th in class, and then also I should mention that Chris Pence is way down in 36th, the last car in that class. Taylor?
Alex Simonix winning in the GTE class. Didn't have much of an issue. No pressure at all from second place Stephen McGarvey, alongside with Alex Ellis and Dallas Pataska with his debut. Very nice run here today, with Paul Darling with the points championship having a good points night, even with a small mistake. Dean Mole and Paul Lindsay will come home in the 6th and 7th position in class, followed by Samuel Scott and Leif Peterson. And Dave Hill will round out your top 10 in the GTE category. Emmanuel.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. Emmanuel Agiri will come home in the 11th, 27th overall, followed by Bradley Haley. Not a very good night, even though running up towards the front had some issues, followed by Ryan Huff and Dale Green, rounding out your top 30.
Then Sheldon Woloshin finished 31st overall, with Matt Owens 32nd and Christopher Sherburne 33rd. From there, it's drivers who DNF'd. Poor Kevin Santana. Just one small mistake. When it put him on his lid, that meant that he was not going to be able to get back out there. Mark Kudrowski as well, 35th overall. Chris Pence, one of our LMP2s, 36th. Giuliano Romagnolo, 37th. Brandon Gracia in 38th in our LMP1s. And John Omer actually might have been did not start. I'm not sure if he completed many of these laps. If he did, he finished 39th and last here today. So with that, we have our winner overall, Cy Andra, ready to talk to us. Let's pull him in and see how happy this celebration is, because Cy, it has been a long time coming this season. You're finally on the top step.
It's, like you said, it was a long time coming. It's a relief. The first one is the hardest, so hopefully I can string a few together now. Ideally, at least.
Yeah, hopefully. You had to work for this one, though. We noticed that you and Jason had very much a back-and-forth battle. Did you have the downforce trimmed out? Because it seemed in a straight line, he just could not catch you.
I think I had a little bit less downforce, and my boost strategy was different. I managed to regen the battery through the infield section with the hairpins and deploy it all down the straight after turn 2 and onto the front straight. Jason had a little bit of a different strategy where he kind of saved a little bit more battery on the straights and managed to boost out of the corners on the short straights. So it was kind of like watching it was like watching a shark come after me in the corners. I was just kind of, a little bit closer every time, and then on the straights I was able to pull away, and luckily I was managed to hold it.
Yeah, and with the next round, you said, the first one's the hardest. The next round is Le Mans. Very, very different tracks. So much longer, a lot more wide open. Do you think you can repeat it, even though the qualities of the circuit are so drastically different?
Absolutely. I think Le Mans and low downforce tracks and LMP1s are my strong suit, mainly because in this year's Le Mans 24-hour, I managed to get 5th place in top split. So I think I have a setup for it, and I think I have the pace for it, and I think 2 in a row is definitely possible.
All right. Well, we'll look out for you. Best of luck when we come back in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Well, Cy Andra, our winner here today. First win of the season for him in the LMP1 class. Up next, I believe Taylor Burris has Alex Simonic, the winner of the GTEs, with him.
Yes, indeed. We are here with Alex Simonic. Alex, excellent, dominant performance here tonight. Tell us about how your race was for you.
Well, after when I gridded, I noticed that I was starting on the outside, so I knew that getting into turn one was going to be pretty difficult with Bradley on the inside. So I knew that I had to somewhat juke him when we went. So I kind of went after the pit wall. But yeah, it was a pretty fun race. I usually don't like this track at all, but with this track, you really have to be consistent with your braking points and turn-in points, because if you're off a little bit, you can lose about 4/10 per corner.
Yeah, it is a very difficult track, but you were able to master for it wonderfully. Next, in 2 weeks, we're going up to Le Mans. How is your plan set up for that as we go for that race, as we're halfway through the season?
I'm guessing it's going to be a battle between trying to get as much straight line speed as possible or getting it in the S's, because if you have straight line speed, you can really defend well in the S's because it's not really a great pace to pass. Maybe that's going to be our strategy moving on to Le Mans.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on your win, Alex, and we look forward to seeing you there, and hopefully this was just another string of races.
Yep. I'd also like to thank my teammate Matthew Kaidasoja for being my crew chief and setup guru for not only this race, but both of my IMSA Victory broadcast races and also every race since I've joined Global SimRacing. I really couldn't have done it without him and his guidance.
Yeah, it's always important to thank the teams that help make you to improve upon your racing here on iRacing.
Thank you.
And Soup, I believe we caught on with another GTE driver. I believe we caught up with Dallas Pataska.
It's a pleasure to talk to Dallas. Dallas, welcome to the series. Are you happy with your fourth place finish?
Yeah, I'll take it, definitely. Considering it's maybe my fourth or fifth GTE race ever. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it. But for, the races onwards, I'm definitely looking to improve.
With that said, how familiar are you with the Porsche, and how much more can you get out of it?
Well, with the Porsche, that is my first race. As far as getting more out of it, yeah, I feel like there's a lot more to get out of it. I mean, it's one of the cars I'm not familiar with. You got to drive these cars, both the GT3 and GTE cars, a style that I haven't completely gotten accustomed to yet. But I'm starting to focus more on kind of my road discipline. So, yeah, you're going to see a lot more out of it from me.
I'm used to seeing you go around people, but when you're in the slower class, you got to let people go around you. How was dealing with traffic?
Interesting to say the least. I thought it was a good challenge. I think it's a good opportunity to say if your car isn't got the most speed in it, if you can navigate the traffic right and position yourself correctly, you can make up and gap just tons of time, which can go both ways on you. It's a double-edged sword, but I like the challenge of it.
Well, Indy Series benefits when you are in it. Thanks for racing today, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, guys.
Dallas Pataska, fourth in GTE. Joe?
We've got one more to talk to. Our second place driver in LMP1, Deep Freeze DeVries, is with us. Jason, I don't know if you were listening to the interview with Cy, but he seemed to think that he had a different strategy with the battery than you. What was your strategy with the deployment out there today?
He may have. He had a little bit more top speed. I took some of it out in practice because the track was really hot. And I remember what happened to Watkins Glen. I lost the car, so I put a little bit more downforce in it. There's a few boost patterns here. He may have was boosting a little bit more on the front straight than me, but I had a little bit more drag. So I don't really see too much different. I knew there were some spots where he was not boosting as much, but I didn't really have any battery problems the whole race.
Now, the points between you and Cy are pretty decent right now, and that's because it took him this long, obviously, to get his first win. But he said that the first one is always the hardest, seeming to imply that kind of momentum now coming his way. Do you think you can stem that tide in the second half of the season to keep him from catching you?
Well, we'll just keep running good races, and it's a battle of mistakes, and who doesn't make them, and that's really what has the biggest effect on things. So, you got to show up with some speed, but you also have to run good races, and he ran a perfect race today, and hats off to him.
All right. Well, we also are aware that some drivers tend to prefer certain regions, certain types of tracks over others. Ulmer, of course, notorious for preferring the American tracks over the European ones. What about you now that we head to the European leg? Do you see yourself finishing strong at places such as Imola and Monza and Silverstone?
I think so. Le Mans is going to be a struggle for me. If Dan Benefield shows up, he's going to be extremely difficult. Cy was really good. So I think Le Mans is going to be a mulligan where you just have to show up and not make any major mistakes. But there's some really good tracks out there. It's just really a battle of keeping up with the setup. These tracks are coming up are a little bit wider, so it's okay to deal with traffic, whereas the North American tracks are really narrow. You hit the brakes, you turn. It's just extremely difficult, but it's going to open up a little bit, and I think we're going to put on some really good races. I thought this race was going to be a little bit of the physical variety, and I think that was the best race of the year, in all honesty, with the battle that we had up front with the four of us. It was just a lot of fun to be out there today.
We agree. We enjoyed not only the battle, but there was a distinct lack of attrition here. So you guys have certainly, I think, come to terms with the mix of classes now that we've gotten into 7 races. Commiserations that you didn't take the win, but congratulations on a podium today, sir.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. See you guys in a couple weeks.
That's Jason DeVries, second place here in the LMP1s. And that's going to close it up for us at Interlagos. We're going to thank a few people. Of course, thank you to John Ulmer and his big team behind him to organize these races. It is a lot of effort to get a 14 race season underway, especially with as many drivers as they have. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Taylor, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red button that says subscribe. That means that you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. As we mentioned, races like Le Mans are coming up in 2 weeks. That'll be Monday, November 12th, to kick off the European season. That'll be at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.